Hey guys, it's ArchieLuxury here on the ArchieLuxury channel. Today guys, I want to make a video on how to make your BMW last forever. That's right guys, how do you make your BMW last forever? Now this also applies to Mercedes and other German cars. In fact, you can apply it to any car. But this video is especially concentrating on BMW. And in my case, I got a G20 3 Series. It's the G20 3 Series. And, you know, BMW, I love the BMWs. I love Beamers. How do you make them last longer? How do you make them last, say, 200,000 miles? And the reason I'm making this video is that I recently, in the last year, I leased a BMW 330i. That is their mid-tier. Did you know in the 3 Series, in America, the 330i is the base 3 Series, but in South Africa, they got a 318i, they got a 320, 330, 340, and the M3. So in the world stage, the 330 that I have is actually mid-tier. You Americans would say it's the poverty pack one, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. How do you make this car last? Good question. Now, the tricky bit is, of course, if you want to make this car last for such high kilometers, you don't actually just follow the manufacturer's recommendation. There are some extra steps that you need to do. And the manufacturer's guides are always very good as a guide. That's the basis. But you really should do a bit more if you want it to last a lot longer. So I'm going to go through the steps. Number one. So let's have a look at the steps you can do to make your car last 200,000 miles. And the reason I'm making this video is, in my case, in many parts of the world where people live, the big problem is they've got salty the environment is really harsh on the car. I'm actually in quite a hot, arid, like a Florida, Texas type environment where the sun is an issue, but we don't have the dampness, which causes a lot of corrosion and rust. So the first thing I got to say, if you want to make your car last, I got to tell you this, you've got to be realistic. If you're living in London, for example, and London is very, very difficult to have an underground, it's very hard to have a dedicated parking spot. You're not going to get anywhere near as long as if you were in Australia or Texas, California, where it never rains, where you've got a dry environment. That really does help a hell of a lot. That helps a hell of a lot. So the environment you're in, number one, the environment you are in is going to make a big difference. Now, my good friend Ronnie Paul, he's in Canada. Canada cold. They put salt. Well, what his answer is, he's got a beautiful car. He's got a Chrysler. I think it's Chrysler Dodge Challenger. And I think it's a Challenger. I think it is. Sorry, Ronnie Paul, if I'm wrong. He only uses it in the summer months. So by doing that, you're not having the corrosion. So he puts it into hibernation. Now, so number one, assess your environment. If you want the car to last a long, long time, you can't really be using it in salty and wet weather. It's okay to use it in wet weather, but when they're putting salt on the road, that's a real corrosive bastard. So number one, assess your environment. Number two, let's look at what, this is one of the things that you can control, number two, the most important thing for a vehicle is oil and filter. Oil and filter. Oil filter and oil are cheap. It's the blood that keeps the car going. Oil itself keeps the car lubricated. It stops engine wear. It keeps the car going well. So my best advice would be to change your oil and filter. So how often should you do that? Well, in BMW itself, they say 25,000 kilometers, 25,000. Mercedes has a once a year service interval. It's about similar sort of mileage there. And the honest answer is, I think if you really want to extend the life of your car, I would be changing it every 10,000 kilometers. 10,000 kilometers, oil and filter. Oil and filter in Australia for my BMW, it cost me from an independent about $300 to change oil and filter. And realistically, that's the cheapest insurance you can have to keeping this car going for a longer period. When the oil gets gummy and yucky, it's not good. My BMW, like a Mercedes C-Class, also uses a turbo. Turbos like clean, nice oil. The big thing is also so my advice is change your oil 10,000 kilometers. What's that? 6 to 7,000 miles. And my other advice is to constantly check, once a week, check your oil level. Because if the oil is low, turbocharged engines, and a lot of these luxury cars have gone turbo for the emissions and things like that. If it is low, get it topped up. You don't want to just leave it. That's what so the best advice I can give you is, so this is step 2, is to constantly change your oil and filter. That's the best thing. Now, in my case, my car is on a service plan. It's on a BMW service plan. 5-year servicing, 5-year servicing or 85,000 kilometers, and it came with a service pack. Now, you know what? They won't do extra oil changes. No, so I actually pay for that myself. So I've got a service pack, but I actually get the oil and filter done in addition to that. And it's a bit of a bummer because I changed the oil at 10,000 and then the car came up to 20,000. What do I do then? Do I leave it? Because the computer is saying it needs to be changed at minimum 24 to 26,000. I'm thinking, shit, their service plan is very rigid. They won't actually do the oil change now. They say, we can't do the free oil change until at least 24,000 kilometers. So I got it changed again. So what I'll do is I'll try and push it to at least 25,000 and then get it changed. 26,000. And I got to be totally honest with you. This is very important. Now, what happens with makers like BMW and Mercedes who have the longer oil intervals, they're using fully synthetic oil and they have a larger oil pan, meaning it'll last longer. But I disagree. I'll put some links, if I can remember to link it. I'll put some links in there for some other opinions on BMW oil changes. So that's what I would do. The next thing so that's the second thing. The third thing I would recommend is changing your gearbox oil at 60,000 kilometers. A lot of these gearboxes say they're sealed for life. That's the life. Their life of the car is 120,000 kilometers. I think gearbox oil possibly should be changed. And 60,000 rear axle oil should be changed. So that's some extra bits that are possibly worth changing. Now, the next thing, what else can you do to prolong your car? What else can you do? Well, the next thing you can do is BMWs, Mercedes, they have a lot of plastic crap there. You want to make sure your cooling system is working properly. A lot of these plastic or rubber hoses, when you're getting, they have a history of failing after about 80 to 100,000. I would always keep a good eye on this, and if necessary, get them changed out early. Get them changed. Just get them done. Get it done. Get it done. Because if these engines are often aluminium engines for lightweight and performance, if they get hot, they don't quite work again. They get very, very sensitive to that. So I would say to you, 80 to 100,000 kilometers, I would be really checking the coolant system. Note to self also, keep an eye. If ever the gauge gets hot, very hot, pull over and cool the bloody thing down, because engines are expensive. Now, the next bit of advice is to, if you really want the car to last long, is to let the car warm up for at least a minute before you drive away. Don't just turn the key in and off you go. No, 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 no. I would really say to you, start the car, okay? Give it 30 seconds. So normally I start the car and then I put the seatbelt and get the car cockpit ready. 30 seconds to a minute, just sit there idling. I immediately, when I jump in the car, I turn off the stop start button. That's the engine stop start. I immediately turn that off. I hate that feature. And I don't think that's going to make the engine last longer. Turn that bloody thing off. Keep the engine running. May chew a bit more fuel, but engines are expensive to replace. So I give it 30 seconds to a minute, maybe 2 minutes before I drive off. And then when I do drive off, I actually I'm very, very gentle on the engine. I'm not flooring it or driving like a lunatic. You want that needle to be at the operating temperature before you start hitting the gas hard. So yes, I give it 30 seconds to 2 minutes to just warm up, and then I'm very gentle until it's warmed up. Then after that, you know what, you can then drive it more briskly. Now, I got to be honest with you. If you drive it a lot non-briskly, you're going to get much better fuel economy, and you're going to prolong the life of the parts. So if you can drive it like a pensioner, that is probably a better idea. I'll tell you an interesting story. I had to go to the coast, and that's normally 110 on the highway, but there was roadworks and shit happening. It was reduced to about 80 kilometers. And I just noticed the fuel economy was fantastic. At 80 Ks, the car is so much more fuel efficient than at 110. So just, if you drive it more sparingly, it'll definitely, I think you're not going to get the wear and tear as much. I had a good friend of mine who had a Mercedes-Benz W211 E-Class, and he got 80,000 kilometers out of a set of brake pads because he just drove it like a hearse. So that's an interesting analogy. I mean, he was a bit stingy. He didn't use the aircon much. He really was stingy, but each to his own. The next thing I would say to prolong the car, particularly turbo cars, is when you come back from a drive, okay, the last couple of Ks, just be gentle on it because you want the engine to cool down. And then when you come in to park, let it sit for 30 seconds to a minute just to idle, turn the aircon off, and just let the engine run through. It's pumping oil through, and you're getting ready to turn the car off. If you do that, your turbo will love you and last a hell of a lot longer. So that's a very good point to follow there. So what else can I recommend there? Well, I also wouldn't be using the launch mode. BMWs have launch modes, a sports sort of mode you can take off like a hoodlum. Probably wouldn't be using that. The stop-start technology, where at your traffic lights it'll turn the engine off, I would probably not use that as well. If you are more gentle on the car, it'll last a lot longer. So, guys, those are the tips to get higher mileage out of the car. Tell me what you think. Put some points below. And I will see you in the next one. See you later. Love the Beamer. Hi guys, it's ArchieLuxury. Guys, I want to talk to you about David SW. David SW, David SW. Guys, if you are in America, if you are looking for a Rolex watch of your dreams, in fact, if you're looking for a contemporary modern wristwatch, I strongly advise you to look at David SW. Guys, don't play the dealer games. Don't bring in chocolates or Krispy Kremes for your dealer hoping to get a Rolex at retail. It's futile. Please, guys, save your dignity. Keep some pride. Go to David SW. I would highly recommend David SW, David SW. If you're in America and you're looking for a watch, go to David SW, David SW, David SW. Hey guys, ArchieLuxury on the YouTube sensation, the Paul Pluta channel. Guys, I need you to help me out, guys. I can't survive on Google Ads alone. I need you to request a paid review. $50 US, look down in the description. $50 US, I will review your collection. I'll tell you what I think of it, and I'll give you some pointers. The other thing is, guys, you can sponsor me on Patreon. Patreon allows you to pay a couple bucks a month, $1, $2, $5, whatever you want, and it keeps me going on YouTube because, guys, I'm in a niche. Nobody can make money out of the views I get. The views are crap because it's a small specialized area, and I don't talk about garbage for the sake of views. Guys, sponsor me on Patreon, look down below, and I will see you in the next one.